Okay. How do we get our energy? Okay, if you remember from cell theory, one of the components of cell theory is all living things need energy. They need to obtain energy in order to live. So how do we do that? Well, there's two different types of organisms. There's two different types of living things, organisms. One type, they can make their own food. And the other type is like us. People, cats, fish, birds, worms. uh, we can't make our own food, so we have to get food from other places. We are called consumers. We consume food. But these guys, I want to focus over here, okay? These guys that make their own food, they are called producers. They produce their own food. Another name for producers is autotroph. Another word for what we are, we have to go get our food. We can't make it ourselves, not within our bodies. We're called heterotrophs. Okay? So let's focus on producers for now. Producers make their food by the process of photosynthesis. Ooh, that's a big word. Okay. Photo means light, like photograph. Okay. Synthesis as is in the presence of light. So producers make their own food. Well, what's a producer? Producers are plants, and they're green. If you guys remember from our organelles, our cell organelles, plant cells have the organelle called chloroplast. It's a cell organelle. So this is a part of one of the many parts of plant cells. And inside that chloroplast is something called chlorophyll. And this is the green pigment that makes the plants green. This is also the part that absorbs the sunlight to fuel the process of photosynthesis. So some examples of plants would be trees and all kinds of trees. We have fruit trees, like apple trees, shrubs, um, let's see, all kinds of flowering plants, and some non-flowering plants. Um, Vines, seaweed, even the plants underwater perform photosynthesis. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a really quick video.
Producers are organisms that make their own food. They are also known as autotrophs. They get energy from chemicals or the sun and, with the help of water, convert that energy into usable energy in the form of sugar or food. The most common example of a producer are plants. Through a process called photosynthesis, green plants use sunlight and water and make a type of sugar called glucose. Green plants, such as trees, are found on land, but they can also exist underwater, as long as there is enough sunlight.
Okay, so after that quick video, now let's do a little drawing here, a little sketch. Let's title it We're going to title it Photosynthesis. And I want you to draw a leaf in the middle. And we're going to kind of zoom in. This is going to be a plant cell. You notice how angular it is. And we're going to zoom in even more on a chloroplast. This is a plant cell, and this is a leaf. And we're drawing a leaf because photosynthesis happens in the leaves. That's where you'll find most of the chloroplasts. Okay? Not every cell in a plant has chloroplast. You notice that there's some parts on plants that are not green. Those parts and those organs don't have chloroplast. So let's talk about photosynthesis happening in the chloroplast. What is needed from the environment in order for photosynthesis to happen? We need carbon dioxide, or the plant needs carbon dioxide, and that's a gas. The plant also needs water. You know what H2O is. Water. Okay, so the plant needs these things from the environment. Okay, the water comes up from the roots and it goes all the way to the leaves. The carbon dioxide goes into the leaves from these little tiny pores called stomata. Inside the chloroplast is where all the magic happens. Okay, but the magic can't happen without the sun's energy. Just like your car needs a fuel to get it going, you can't go anywhere if there's no gas in the car. Same thing here. This process can't happen without the energy from the sun. So when all the things are present in the chloroplast, things get transformed into something new. A chemical change happens. Okay? Chemical change. Something gets turned into something different and new. So out of this process, we get glucose. It's a type of sugar. And we also get oxygen out of this, which is a gas. Okay? Before a chemical reaction happens, these materials are called reactants. Okay? Then a chemical change happens and transforms them into something new. Those things that are something new are called products. Okay? Now I want to add that just like making a cake, you have ingredients. And in the ingredients, there's certain amounts of certain things that you have to put in the bowl to mix together. You can't just throw in stuff and then expect a yummy cake to come out. Well, that's the same thing here. It takes 6 carbon dioxide molecules. It takes 6 water molecules and sunlight in order for this process to happen. And then when this gets transformed into something new, we get 1 glucose molecule out of this, and 6 oxygen molecules get released out into the atmosphere. Okay, it's kind of like making a cake. I want to show you this. Let's pretend our leaf is an oven. This is the leaf. Okay, we have our ingredients. But we really call them reactants. Okay, we have carbon dioxide and we have water. But You have to measure things out, just like making a cake. So we need 6 carbon dioxides and 6 waters in order for this to work. Okay? So in the leaf, in the chloroplast, they go. And what fuels this? So in order to make these ingredients into a cake, the oven has to heat up. Okay? So just like we need the sun's energy. The sun's energy is the energy that makes this happen. And instead of getting this yummy cake out, our product, our finished product, is sugar in the form of glucose. There's different types of sugars. Specifically, plants make glucose, okay? And then we also get oxygen. This is the type of oxygen that we breathe, okay? But we only get 1 glucose molecule out of this, and we get 6 oxygen molecules into the atmosphere, okay? So these are our products. So now I want to focus on the energy. In 6th grade, you guys talked about energy transformation. So let's talk about energy transformation. There's energy transformation happening in photosynthesis, but I want to go back and remind you about some of the things you guys learned about last year in 6th grade, okay? Energy transformation. So for example, let's say we have a battery. This is stored energy, or we call it chemical energy. And this type of energy, we call it potential energy. It's got a lot of potential, just waiting to be used. And when you put a battery, let's say, into a flashlight, that energy gets transformed into light energy, heat energy. Okay? And these are forms of kinetic energy, motion energy. So this is an example of energy transformation from last year. Okay? And we can do one more, just as a refresher. So here's an outlet. Okay? So this would be electrical energy. It's a type of kinetic energy. And let's say we plug in a blow dryer. Okay, so this electrical energy is going to be transformed into mechanical energy because there's a spinning turbine in there that pushes the air out, heat energy, and sound energy. Okay, these are all kinetic energies. So I'm just showing you energy gets transformed into another type of energy. Energy doesn't get created or destroyed, it just gets changed. So it's the same thing with photosynthesis. The energy transformation here for photosynthesis it happens in the leaf, but it starts out as radiant energy from the sun. Radiant energy. And during this process, it gets transformed into chemical energy in the form of a sugar. I'm going to draw a little sugar cube. The the energy gets stored in here. That's why it's called chemical energy. Chemical energy is stored energy. And it gets stored in the leaves. The leaf holds on to it until it uses it, or we eat it, or a cow eats it, okay, or a rabbit eats it, okay. Then that energy goes into them. So photosynthesis is the process of energy transformation from radiant energy to chemical energy. And the chemical energy is stored in the sugar. Okay, so I want to show you the chemical formula, the chemical equation. The chemical equation for photosynthesis. You will need to know this. Chemical equation. Equation means equal. So this is a chemical change. So we have reactants, or our ingredients, what we start off with, and then we're going to have our finished products, what we end up with. Okay. The same amount of atoms and molecules, all the atoms that we start off with are going to get rearranged. It's going to be the same amount of atoms, the same amount of matter when we're done. So that's why this is called an equation. It's going to equal. So we have carbon dioxide and water. And then the finished product is glucose, C6H12O6. This is glucose. You do need to know this. Write down this chemical formula. And we also wind up with some oxygen. And this is the type of oxygen that we breathe. Okay, but we forgot about measurements. We have to add measurements. Okay, in order for photosynthesis to happen, we need 6 carbon dioxide molecules and 6 water molecules. And after the transformation, we wind up with 1 glucose molecule and 6 oxygen molecules. Okay, we're missing something. What fuels this whole process? The sun. The sun's radiant energy fuels this whole process. Okay, and so this radiant energy, just to remind you, this radiant energy gets transformed as well during this process. It gets transformed into chemical energy in the glucose. Okay, and it just hangs out in the leaf, waiting to be used by the plant or eaten.